What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here, and in this video I will be showcasing some of the builds that I use to beat 50 waves of Legend Onslaught on every class with every subclass. This means 15 different builds, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on the builds themselves. Rather, I will just talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each build and how to kind of optimize it to get the most out of it. I will go in alphabetical order, starting with Arc and finishing with Void. So first up is Arc Hunter with my Lucky Raspberry setup. The first build we'll be looking at, this is my Lucky Raspberry / Raiden Flux Arc Hunter build. So one of my favorite things about Onslaught is it's not locked loadouts and there's no surges. So Arc is viable in this season where we've pretty much only had Strand, Stasis, and Solar. And anyways, if you don't know what Lucky Raspberry does, it increases the chaining capabilities of arc bolt grenades. So it makes them jolt intrinsically so we don't have to run Spark of Shock. And then for the fragments, I had Spark of Resistance, Spark of Beacons, Spark of Ions, and Spark of Recharge. So this is basically just all about getting your Arc Bolt Grenade as often as possible. And then we have Disorienting Blow so that I can stun ogres, Unstoppable Ogres, which is really nice. But this doesn't work with Tempest Strike. So Tempest Strike jolts, but it will not also disorient. Tempest Strike is really nice for applying more jolt. And then we have Flow State. Basically just defeating a jolted target makes us amplified, which is really nice. And then we have Arc Staff, so when I get my super, I'm hot swapping to Raiden Flux, and this actually goes really hard. Quick successive attacks with Arc Staff increase the damage output and duration, so it lasts longer and it hits harder. I had Arc Weapon Surge and Kinetic Surge, so Indebted Kindness and Song of Rear Ute were my arc weapons. I've got Demolitionist just for mowing down ads to get even more grenade energy for my arc bolts. And then this has Volt Shot on Indebted Kindness, so we can get a quick kill, reload. So I have Arc Loader so that the reload is really nice and snappy on this thing. So then we can apply Volt Shot, and when we jolt, that will be proccing Lucky Raspberry to give us our arc bolt grenades back. And then Forerunner is really nice for dealing with things like Shriekers and Tormentors. So yeah, this is a wonderful ad clear build. Arc is really good for ad clear because of Jolt. And this allows us to like jolt everything all the time. Super good ad clear. Machine guns are good for ad clear. I don't think they're necessarily the best in this game mode. I prefer things like grenade launchers that have heavy damage output. But I really wanted to lean into like the ad clear fantasy. So this one is, there's not a ton of stopping power other than your Raiden Flux super. So you can use that on like shielded demos or demolitionists or on those augment waves. And then for everything else, you're just using your weapons. Because of all the crates we get in Onslaught, you're never really hurting for ammo whatsoever. So yeah, this is overall a really good build and I was really impressed with it. But like I said, in the boss rooms, it's not like the best. And I did top frag with kills on my team. Again, that doesn't mean everything because sometimes people are doing objectives and whatever else. But yeah, overall, it was a pretty good build and I really liked running it. So next up is my Arc Hoyle Titan build. This is all about spamming abilities. I've got Pulse Grenades on, which are very strong. And then we have Spark of Magnitude to make them last longer. Spark of Ions to give us Ionic Traces for more ability energy back when we kill jolted targets, which we do a lot of because Spark of Shock makes our grenades jolt enemies. And then we get big ability returns with Spark of Recharge. Then I have Thunder Crash, so I swap to Kyrus of the Falling Star. And yeah, this is just like an ability spam build. This one definitely has more firepower than the Arc Hunter one because I'm rocking Wendigo GL3 with the auto-loading Explosive Light. I love this build because I barely have to reload any weapons. This thing has auto-loading. This has Demo and Frenzy, so if I do have to reload, I get that Frenzy fast reload, and then Demolitionist will just reload it for me, and I get tons of grenade energy back when I get projectile kills with the glaive. And then Forerunner again, which is just really nice for Tormentors and stuff. Like I said, I can swap to Kyrus when I do a Thunder Crash. We've got Touch of Thunder, which also makes our pulse grenades better, and then Knockout, which is nice, and then Seismic Strike is actually really nice for the blind effect. Again, that can stun Unstoppables, and it's just good for getting the enemies kind of off your back. You can just get a quick Seismic Strike off. And then it synergizes really nicely with Heart of Inmost Light. Once it comes to the boss room, it's not the best because once you run out of explosive light shots, your Wendigo isn't hitting near as hard. And then Forerunner, it does have great reserves and great total damage, but yeah, it doesn't hit like all that hard. But overall, super fun build. I love this build because, I mean, Heart of Inmost Light is just super good. And the ability spam is very fun. And again, Arc is really good at ad control and stuff. And then, yeah, Forerunner being really nice for the Tormentors helps a lot. And this is good for like demos and higher health targets. You can take out Sky Bombers really fast with Wendigo. I can't speak highly enough of GLs in Onslaught. So yeah, super fun build. Next is a video I actually made a build video on the week Onslaught released. It's super fun. Again, this deals with swapping chest pieces. So all 3 of my Arc builds have a hot swap to make the super better. So this centers around Vesper of Radius. I have tweaked this build a little bit, but anyways, you want double dynamo because you're always putting rifts down, and then the rifts release shockwaves and they blind nearby targets. And then we have Exdirus, which also blinds targets with the Moth. And then we have the, Spark of Beacons. While you're amplified, your Arc special weapon final blows create a blinding explosion. So this build is all about blinding. And I made a video before Onslaught even released about how good blinding would be in Onslaught. And it is very good and very strong. Then I've got a Riptide with Chill Clip. So this is nice for stunning overloads, even though my grenades also can stun overloads. And then it can freeze targets, or I could blind them with a rift. So you can handle unstoppables, but this won't handle barriers, but that's okay. Storm Dancer's Brace makes Storm Trance super strong, even on the final waves. And it gives you half your super back. And with the amount of supers and orbs and stuff that are being created in Onslaught, and with double dynamo, you're pretty much always popping supers. Like, this build is crazy. So this one is an ad clear monster, but it can even have some good damage when you get Storm Dancer's Brace stacked up. So if you take out some enemies and then you stack up Storm Dancers and then go to a high health target like a Demolitionist, it will actually do some work. And then we've got, again, that Wendigo with auto-loading and explosive light. It's excellent. Auto-loading here. So yeah, this build is just full throttle. You never have to reload. And yeah, it's awesome. And because I actually did a dedicated build video on this, I want to show another Arc build that I completed a 50 wave with just really quickly. So just like the last build was centered around getting your super and swapping to Storm Dancers, this one is also around getting your super, but it's Geomag Stabilizer. So this is a Chaos Reach variant. And oh my gosh, I think I had Arc Weapon Surge on for this because I had Forbearance with Demo and Chain Reaction, and then Thunderlord. This was on a week where Overload Machine Gun was on, so Thunderlord was hitting very hard. This can intrinsically stun on overloads, and then we've got Unstoppable Hand Cannon. This build, I've always loved Geomag Stabilizers with Chaos Reach, and yeah, with how hard or how fast Thunderlord hits, it actually gives you really good super returns. And then Forbearance with Demo and Chain Reaction, you're getting lots of grenades back, so you can chuck out grenades to make Ionic Traces, and the Ionic Traces are actually giving you super energy. I could have cast my super way more when I was doing this run, but I've talked about this in other videos. You don't want to just always pop your super the second you get it. So because Geomags hit so hard, I was saving it for like Demolitionist waves and stuff. But if you did have a team that you were confident in beating stuff with, this build could like absolutely slay out with Geomags. I was so impressed with Chaos Reach and just how good it was doing. I love this Midnight Coup. One of my favorite builds in the game. I'm definitely going to be running more Onslaught with Geomags just because this season has had no Arc and I miss it. And yeah, it's a very good build. So for Solar Hunter, I have done a couple clears with Celestial Nighthawk, and it is very good. So if you're just looking for meta play styles, probably Celestial is the way to go. But I was trying to do some more off-meta stuff. Don't look at my loadout because I wasn't sure how this would go. So this is very meta, but the build was a little more off-meta. I'm using Shards of Galanor, so get super energy for Blade Barrage hits and kills. It also reduces your super cooldown if you're getting knife kills. I went with Knife Trick, and in the later rounds, you're not going to be getting too many knife kills with this build, just because the enemies are so tanky. But yeah, I had the Mountaintop with Impulse Amplifier Vorpal. I love this roll. It's great for spamming, and it's great for chunking down high health targets. Sunshot, probably the best legendary primary in the game for Onslaught. Sorry, exotic primary, I said legendary. This thing is incredible. Even without the artifact mods, it's really good, but then when you have like Raise of Precision, it gets even better. So yeah, tremendous ad clear with this thing. And then Apex Predator with Reconstruction Explosive Light. So you could like do a super, and then you're getting Revitalizing Blast, so you're weakening bosses and champions, and then you can burst them down with Apex Predator. Like I said, Sunshot, can't say enough good about it. So this build was actually very fun and very effective. And again, I could have spammed my super more when I was playing this build, but I was just trying to save it for the right spots because I was playing with a couple really good players. So yeah, sometimes they steal your kills. But if you weren't playing with such good players, you can really spam your supers with this build. Add a Solar Weapon Surge on, and then again, you're not getting too many kills, but this is just like my base setup for the build. But I had Hands On and Dynamo. You'll get more mileage out of Dynamo in the later waves of Legend Onslaught. And then of course a Solar Siphon because of my solar weapons. So yeah, super good build. Loved this one. It was really fun to run. And I love the style on my character on this one. I think it looks cool. So funny story with the Solar Titan build. I ran this after probably completing like 12 or so Legend Onslaughts on different subclasses. So I was really excited to use something that was very meta. And this one probably has the best stopping power of pretty much any of the builds, at least the builds I'll be showcasing. We'll know how good Orpheus Rig Tether is with certain setups, and like you can just burst things down with heavy ammo and Cenotaph Warlocks. That's for like team build composition, but just for like an on your own build, this thing can handle pretty much everything. I made a build video on this months ago, but yeah, obviously we have Burning Maul because we're running the Pyrogale Gauntlets, so that makes your Burning Maul hit harder, and it makes your Consecration Slam do better. And then Soul Invictus, we get a ton of Consecrations back. Ember of Mercy for like Radiant and stuff. Ember of Searing for more melee energy back, and then Empyrean and Torches. So a lot of people say, why would you run Torches? We're not always going to have this artifact, and this is based around your melee. So this is very good, and it gives Radiant to teammates. So definitely run Ember of Torches, and then Ember of Empyrean. Obviously you want to be extending Resto and Radiant. So huge survivability thanks to the Resto and Radiant. I also have a Healing Grenade, and then huge damage output with not just your super, but also the Consecration melee. And then for even more huge like burst damage, I ran Parasite. And then sometimes it can be a little sketchy getting into the fray with this build, so I ran a Disorienting GL. And I didn't talk about this with my Riptide Fusion Rifle, but Chill Clip is actually really nice in Onslaught, not just for like the utility it provides for stunning overloads, but some of those Cursed Thrall like really rush up onto the point sometimes. And if you hit them with a Chill Clip, it slows them down, like it slows targets. So don't sleep on that side of Chill Clip either. And then, yeah, so Disorienting Grenades, also obviously very nice. Like I got a God Roll here, auto-loading holster. And then Zali's Bane, once again, explosive payload, one for all. I've sang its praises in many videos, so I won't do that here completely. But yeah, pretty much one of the best legendary primaries in the game that you can run. So like I said, I went full meta with this build, and we had a very easy run. Like if Demolitionists come up, you hit one with a super and then launch a Parasite, and it's over. Like you can solo one just on like on the wave 40s, wave 40 to 50. Super good. Can't say enough good about it. I guess the one downside to it is if you're doing a Consecration and there's Exploder Shanks or Cursed Thrall, you're probably going to die. So do it from afar. Don't get like too in the fray, and watch out for the enemy spawns. But yeah, one of my favorite builds in the game. Definitely one of the strongest for Onslaught. For Solar Warlock, this is what I used on the first clear that we had on day one. So I was getting disconnected sometimes, and yeah, it was just kind of a weird run, so I don't have a whole bunch of footage of this one, but people have soloed Legend Wave 50, like the best players in the world, with this build, like Dabs or Snazzy Rock. So yeah, everyone knows about this build. It's the Sunbracers with Touch of Flame and Heat Rises and Phoenix Dive, and you have Resto ×2, and you're just lobbing grenades everywhere. I had switched to Forerunner because the Tormentor is what wiped us on our first run and our second run. Again, this was like day one. We didn't know how good decoys were, all stuff like that. So we had swapped to Forerunners because Tormentors were our issue, and then Reconstruction, Bait and Switch, Apex Predator, and Zowli's Bane. And yeah, we got it done. Again, the Sunbracers build, we all know it's like one of the best builds. You got Well of Radiance. So yeah, Solar Warlock, super, super good. For me, it's getting a little played out. So like I said, I'm looking for more fun builds to run in Legend Onslaught now that I kind of have it figured out. But yeah, excellent build. Can't recommend it enough. Super, super strong. Okay, so cool story about the Stasis characters. I went 3 for 3 back to back to back Wave 50 Legend Onslaughts. And this was like early on in the first week when we were still figuring stuff out. Stasis is excellent in Onslaught because obviously you're protecting the ADU, and Stasis can slow and freeze targets, which gives you so much more time to deal with them. So the whole purpose of this Stasis build was to just lock everything down. I do want to make a build video on this because I also took it into solo Birthplace of the Vile and got to the boss room. I did die, but that was some unlucky stuff and just me playing dumb. But anyways, yeah, this build's super good. It revolves around Dusk Fields with Touch of Winter, so you can make massive grenades with Renewal Grasps. And then I also have Wish Keeper, and I've got the multi-threaded snare refit, so we can suspend more targets. So then I don't have the artifact mods on, but you could run Pillar of Ice, Hail the Storm, Horde Shuttle, and Unraveling Orbs. So you're getting like all this synergy there. These Stasis artifact mods are really good this season, and I use them on all my Stasis builds coming up. But yeah, I also used the Strand ones, and yeah, this build was exceptional. Like I said, as you learn the spawns, especially, you could just throw a grenade on there. You could suspend another spawn. And then we've got Indebted Kindness. I am going to make a video on like the best weapons to use, but special sidearms are absolutely incredible in this game mode. They have great ammo economy. They hit hard. Mine also has lead from gold and volt shot, so you're getting more utility and like tons of ammo back. And then I use the Cataphract GL3 with Envious Bait and Switch. So again, it's working with Horde Shuttle and stuff. And then it also hits very, very hard. So good stopping power. You also have a good like Ad Clear Super that slows everything down with Silence and Squall. Withering Blade is good for slowing enemies. So yeah, this build is honestly very meta. I mean, it's off meta in a sense because everyone thinks every hunter just has to run Tether, which is kind of the point of me making this video. I wanted to, well, I just like doing build crafting, so I was just really excited to try out a bunch of builds. But as I was doing that, that's kind of what made me want to make this video, because I didn't do all that just to make this video. I was kind of testing out builds, and I was like, hey, I've done this on like 9 different characters already. Why don't I do it on every subclass, on every class? So anyways, do not sleep on Renewal Grasps, Hunter, or the other 2 Stasis builds I'm about to show you. They're really good at crowd control, and they have surprisingly good damage output depending on your weapons. And like I said, they just give you time. So can't speak highly enough of this Renewal Grasps build. My friend Time Lord was running this a lot as well on a few of our other runs, and it just made our runs like super, super easy. So next up was my Stasis Titan build. We have Behemoth, and Glacial Quake Behemoth actually does really, really good like total damage. So it can be great on Demolitionists in the later waves, but it's also really good for Ad Clear. And then I ran Glacier Grenades. Basically, this whole build is about freezing things with like Glacier Grenades, Diamond Lances, Cryoclasm. It does require a bit more of an aggressive playstyle, especially compared to the Renewal Grasps. But yeah, I just can't speak highly enough of this build. Super, super fun. I was running Diamond Lances, but you don't have to. You could run like Tectonic Harvest to get more Howl of the Storms. but I was just really wanting to go all in with Diamond Lances because the Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap makes it just as you get precision hits with anything from behind a rally barricade. So I was using Revision 0. I really like this weapon actually. It's grown on me a lot ever since we were able to fully masterwork it or whatever. So I use the 2-round burst and it hits very hard, and I have Vorpal in 4th times, so it's good. We've got anti-barrier there, anti-barrier here, and then you can freeze everything for unstops. So you can't really handle overloads, but that's okay. And then I used a chain reaction bait and switch GL, so good ad clear and good single target damage. And then again, Indebted Kindness is just one of the best weapons that you can use. I have Stasis Weapon Surge on here, just I wasn't running that. I can't really remember what I was running. I didn't save all these loadouts. These are just kind of like a preset I have. But this was the essence of the build was around Cadmus Urge Lance Cap and these weapons. You can mix and match your mods as you see fit. But yeah, again, I was super impressed with this. Your Diamond Lances, like I said, great for freezing those Saboteur Cursed Thrall that like to rush the point. Just good crowd control. Actually good boss damage too. I would swap to Synthecept sometimes on the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bosses just to do extra damage with my super, because Behemoth with Synthos is one of the highest damaging supers in the game. So yeah, also a really fun build and low-key very strong as well. Okay, so next up is Stasis Warlock, and I'm actually a Warlock main at heart. I do love playing all the classes, but D1 I only played Warlock, and then D2 I only had a Warlock until Curse of Osiris when I decided to make some other characters. I love playing all the characters though, but anyways, the first day of Onslaught or so, I was really just testing out some Warlock builds. So like I said, I did my Sunbracers build, did a Swarmers build, which I made a video on. And then the next one I wanted to try was Osmiomancy. And that first week had Overload Trace Rifle. So I've used this build to solo GMs with Verglass Curve, but I really wanted to try Aegir's Scepter. So anyways, we're running Cold Snaps with Bleak Watchers and Ice Flare Bolts just for freezing and slowing everything. And then Osmiomancy Gloves so that we have 2 Cold Snaps and we get Cold Snap energy back if we get direct hits with it. Also, how good is the drip on my Stasis lock? I just love it. So anyways, then I was running Zali's Bane because again, it's so good. And then you can double dip here. So you could run Pillar of Ice. You don't need Revitalizing Blast, but you could have Raise of Precision so you can make ignitions and get these. And then you can also give yourself Radiant. That's why I was running Zali's Bane. Again, this was first or second day, so I was trying to be more optimized. So yeah, I could give myself Radiant, and then Aegir's Scepter basically has Subsistence built in. Stasis Final Blows transfer ammo to the weapons magazine from reserves, and then when you get kills, it creates a slowing burst, and then you're slowing everything with your Bleak Watchers. So you can just freeze everything with this build. It's so good for crowd control. And then one thing I don't like about Stasis Warlock is the Winter's Wrath super is pretty shit. So Aegir's is perfect because if you have the Catalyst, you can put it into that overdrive mode where it just, it says, drains super energy, overflowing the magazine and empowering the beam with bonus damage and the ability to slow and freeze targets. So this can slow and freeze, so you could use it on an unstop when it's in this mode. You can use it on an unstop or an overload. And then we also have Unstoppable Hand Cannon. And then this was just great for melting down high health targets or huge waves of ads in the later waves. So massive ad clear or single target damage with Aegir's, which is perfect to pair with this because this is one of the worst supers in the game. And then again, when to go with autoloading Explosive Light. So this build doesn't really have many ways to make orbs, but your teammates can make orbs, especially in Onslaught. So you're still usually getting all Explosive Light shots. So yeah, this was just an awesome build. I was so impressed with how strong Stasis was that first week. And I mean, it still is, but like I said, I was testing stuff out and I was like, yeah, Stasis is super good. So yeah, very fun build. Love Aegir's, love Bleak Watchers. Excellent for Onslaught. Next up is one of the best builds in the game. I love Strand Hunter. The Silk Strike super goes very, very hard Whirling Maelstroms are extremely good, and they do like lots of quick damage. So they work really good with Threat of Generation to get your Shackle Grenade back, or whatever grenade you're running. I run Shackles. I talked about it with Stasis, how good crowd control is in Onslaught, and Shackle Grenades is a great way to buy yourself to some time. And then Lucky Pants basically makes your hand cannons hit like a heavy weapon. So I've got the Warden's Law with Enlightened Action and Vorpal with Extended Mag. So 22 in the mag, you get 1 full proc off. It's excellent. So you can burst down pretty much most high health targets in Onslaught. Buried Bloodline, I haven't talked about it yet, but I talked a lot about Indebted Kindness and Forerunner. But this thing is excellent, and it gives you Devour. So multiple final blows with this weapon grant Devour to the wielder. So you can get Devour on Strand, which is huge for survivability. Plus you can get like Woven Mail. And then while Devour is active, you can weaken. So you can weaken with Buried Bloodline and then pull out your Warden's Law or whatever hand cannon that you want to use. And it hits like a truck with Lucky Pants. Then we also have the Envious Bait and Switch Cataphract. So this build has really good ad clear because Buried Bloodline is just good for, like I said, these special sidearms are like made for Onslaught because it's a little bit tankier and like lots of enemies to deal with. So these sidearms are awesome. And then Warden's Law is really, really good every time you have Lucky Pants proc. So you don't just have to use it on big targets. You can just proc your Lucky Pants and then just mow down heaps of ads. This is really good. The super is really good. I also love running Threat of Binding. Super final blows them at a suspending burst from the target. That's really great for just taking out even more ads in your super. The super does good single target damage, and it's a good roaming super. And everything's just built around, like kinetic and harmonic loader, so quick reloads, even though I don't need it on here, but I didn't have room for void loader, but I could change some stuff around, and I might have during my run. Again, these are just more like preset builds that I have. But yeah, this build, excellent, like so freaking good. I don't know if Warden's Law comes around again before Final Shape, but if you don't have a good Vorpal weapon roll, definitely try to get one because it's like the best thing to pair with Lucky Pants. So yeah, this was a pretty easy clear because this build just goes crazy. Alright, so Strand Titan actually has lots of good options. We all know how good Worm God's Caress is on Strand, Syntheseps as well, and then even Abeyant Leap I really like, and again that one would be really good for crowd control, but I just wanted to do something a little different. You don't see much of Strongholds, and I just wanted to showcase how good Strongholds are for survivability. So this build is definitely the best build that you could run for capturing the objective. So getting things like the mines and stuff is literally free with this build. You pretty much can't die when you're blocking with Strongholds. It's incredible. But the problem is when you're blocking, you also can't really output damage. So I was using a Relentless Strike Surrounded Bequest. I also ran it a few times with the Lament. But just because of hit detection issues, I wasn't really liking the Lament. Plus, when you use the Rev Consumption like heavy attack, you can run out of charge sometimes, and you can't block if you have no sword charge. So I was just using Bequest with the Relentless Strikes and just the light attack, and it's very, very good damage. Great for ad clear, great for survivability because you can block damage and get restoration ×2. And then we have Banner of War. So you're getting health back, and then we also have Into the Fray. So you are you're getting Woven Mail, and yeah. And then you also have Shackle Grenades, which I already talked about how they're very good. And this super is pretty good single target damage and very good ad clear as well. So yeah, really good super. So yeah, this build, very, very good. Forerunner for the Tormentors. Zali's Bane just for like general ad clear, but mostly I was using it just to proc Flint Striker to get Radiant. So yeah, good build, but when the Demolitionists and stuff come up, you can't really burst them down very quickly unless you're surrounded. And if you're surrounded, that's bad because demos spawn on top of the ADU, so that means your ADU is getting pushed by other enemies. So yeah, this definitely has some drawbacks, but it is a very, very strong build. I did make a build guide on it, so if you want to check out more detailed info on this build, check that out on my YouTube channel. But yeah, not a bad build, but I definitely took a few times. I was just queuing in with randoms for this one. And because it doesn't have that quick burst on things like demos, that would like usually wipe us. I think we wiped on wave 49 to demos, so we got kind of unlucky. But again, that is a drawback to this build that I want to point out. But definitely a strong build and great for like getting boss aggro and doing the objectives and stuff like that. So not terrible. Like I said, I did beat a Legend 50 and I got to wave 40 like a number of times, but there are stronger builds. And even on Strand, like I said, you could just go Worm Gods and beat the shit out of everything. And that build's OP. I mean, people are soloing Pantheon bosses with it. We all know it needs a nerf. Alright, so here we had my Strand Warlock build, and I actually switched to Buried Bloodline. I originally went in with Tessellation, and again, this was like the first day of Onslaught. And I had made this build quite a while ago, actually. Like back when Weavewalk came out, I had wanted to make a build video on this, and I finally got around to it. But anyways, it was all supposed to be about basically just make as many Threadlings as you can. So Weavewalk gives you Threadlings, and then Weaver's Call, when you cast your Rift, you deploy 3 Threadlings, plus any that you have perched, and Weavewalk can perch 5 really quickly, and also Threadling Grenades. And then I went with a Discord Hatchling Fusion Rifle to make even more Threadlings, and then Tessellation gives Grenade Energy when you get kills with it. So yeah, that was kind of like my idea going into it. But early on, as again, this was day 1 of Onslaught, early on as the enemies got tankier, Tessellation just wasn't doing it. So I went to Buried Bloodline and I talked about how it grants you Devour, and then Devour gives big chunks of grenade energy whenever you have it active. So you can get even more Threadling grenades, which is nice. But then when I made that build video, lots of people were in the comment section talking about like run it with shackle grenades. And I actually do agree. So again, when I make these builds, I just tried to synergize as many things as possible. So I was like, this build is the Threadling build. I'm making a Threadling army. So I had Threadling grenades, Hatchling, ways to get grenade energy back, etc. Right? But if you want to make this build as good as you can run like something else up here, because this thing, it's fun in the lower waves or maybe regular Onslaught, but it just doesn't hit hard enough to like make lots of Hatchlings. So people talked about using Final Warning. So you get Anti-Barrier Sidearm, and it can pair with Horde Shuttle and Unraveling Orbs. And man, Final Warning with this build goes super hard. You could run whatever you want here. Yeah, like literally anything. Envious Reservoir Burst Fusion wouldn't be bad. And if you get multi-kills with it, you could proc Radiant with Flint Striker. So there's lots of ways you can go with this build, but again, when I crafted it originally, it was just about making all the Threadlings that you can. But for like utility and to make it as good as you can for Onslaught, yeah, I think Shackle Grenades is probably the way to go, because you can just keep doing Weavewalk, and you kind of want high strength. I don't really have much armor that specs into strength. But yeah, there's lots of ways you can go with this build. But Swarmers, destroying a Tangle spawns a Threadling. Your Threadlings unravel targets that they damage. So you're just unraveling everything. There's Threadlings everywhere. I was running this with my buddy Pat, and he was just laughing because he's like, holy shit, like I can't even like get a kill because there's just Threadlings and they're just attacking everything. Again, the Cataphract, which is really good for burst damage. I liked it with Buried Bloodline for the survivability, but now that we kind of know the spawn points of Onslaught and stuff, or you can run Recuperation on your boots, there's other ways to survive where you don't need this. So yeah, I'm a big fan of pairing it with Final Warning. And again, this is just like a weapon I picked. Like you could run this, you could run whatever, but Final Warning hits very hard, is very good, especially with this build. So yeah, the Threadling build was super fun. I've seen it lots on like my YouTube homepage and stuff. Lots of people seem to be liking it, and it's gaining traction, which is awesome, because back when these came out, I like made a Threadling build way back when, even before Weavewalk came out, and everyone was just like, yeah, Threadlings suck. And then shortly after that, they buffed Threadlings, they gave us Weavewalk, and yeah, I don't know, I just really like it. It's just a fun, cool play style. So anyways, really fun build and surprisingly effective in Onslaught. And then the Needlestorm Super on Warlock is really good. It's decent for ad clear, but it's also really good on like a Demolitionist for like a burst damage. So yeah, excellent build for Onslaught. Alright, so now we have Void Hunter, and everyone knows how good Orpheus Riggs is. I didn't want to play Orpheus Riggs just because it's very well known, and I've been wanting to mess with Gerfalcon's Hauberk for a while. Feels like ages that we've had anything Void on the artifact. So yeah, I was really pumped to try this build. Wave Splitter with supercharged battery, so laser damage has 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. But collecting an orb of power grants a periodic maximum power period that starts with an automatic reload. So sustained fire in this mode suppresses targets. So you can suppress things with Wave Splitter and you're doing huge damage. And then of course I also went with triple Void Surge because basically I'm just doing everything with my Wave Splitter. You'll notice lots of my builds were double special. With the amount of heavy crates, like you absolutely can get away with doing that. And then Gerfalcons, so when we go invisible, we gain volatile rounds. So now you're getting volatile rounds, triple Void Surge, and then we've got a Smoke Bomb so we can weaken things. We've got the single shot tether still. I wasn't going to use Spectral Blades. I'm not that much of a contrarian. Still want a good super. And then of course you run Stylish Executioner with this one because defeating weakened, suppressed, or volatile targets grants invisibility. So as we're getting kills, we're going invis and we're just reprocking our volatile rounds from Gerfalcons all the time. So this is a super fun build. It's just so much fun just mowing enemies down with Wave Splitter. It actually is really good. Then I have Succession for dealing with the Tormentor, and then Edge Transit with Envious Bait and Switch. Envious is a perfect pairing because obviously we're getting so many kills with Wave Splitter. And then when we need that quick burst damage, we just swap to this. It's always reloaded. Proc Bait and Switch, so just get a quick shot with Succession and then just burst everything down. This build was an easy one and done because we all know how good Tether is in Onslaught. But yeah, super fun build. I'm probably going to run more of this now that... Well, I still have so many builds I want to run, but yeah, I'm definitely wanting to run this one again because I just found it super, super fun. So speaking of insanely fun builds, this Doomfang Pauldrons build, man, so much fun. I have loved Doomfangs since, look, it's got the Red War symbol. I've loved these things since Red War. It's like a mini game within the game, trying to extend your super with your throwing shield. And you also get tons of super because I'm sure it says it on here somewhere. Defeating targets with Void Melee grants super energy. So you get a Void Melee and get super energy, and then all my fragments are kind of just built around ability spam. And yeah, I'm going to make a dedicated build video on this, hopefully soon before Final Shape. We'll see, because there's a lot going on with this build, but I'm just going to talk about the build and how it worked in Onslaught. So obviously we have Sentinel Shield as our super, and then you need Offensive Bulwark because you gain an additional shield throw while in Sentinel Shield. That's crucial because you want to just be chucking your shield pretty much every time it comes up into groups of adds. I've done entire waves and even extended the super into the next wave with this super. You can also block with your super to throw up Banner Shield, which improves the damage of your teammates' weapons. And then I was running Scatter Grenades, which I really, really like in Onslaught. They do a lot of damage and they're just like quick damage. But then I was actually running Controlled Demolition. So to get more abilities, normally you run Bastion. But that brings me to Vexcalibur, which when you block with this thing, it gives you an overshield. And it's got Grave Robber, so you like never have to reload. I've got auto-loading Chill Clip on the Riptide and auto-loading Frenzy on the Edge Transit. So yeah, and I mean, this isn't the best Edge Transit. I was just trying to mix things up and run some different stuff. Obviously, Envious Bait and Switch would probably be the way to go. But yeah, this build, so insanely fun. Can't recommend it enough. It's also very, very strong in Onslaught because even if you're doing like single target damage, it's not the best. Like it's no Pyrogales, but you can extend this super for a long time. And if two of your teammates are taking on Demolitionists, you can just sit in the lane and just keep chucking your Sentinel Shield and your super, and it's just going to take out the entire wave while your teammates deal with the demolitionists. So if you just have one guy dedicated to ad clear in this build, you're laughing. And then controlled demolition is a better aspect straight up than Bastion. It's just sometimes you want that overshield, but like I said, Vex Caliber gives you that. So then hitting a target with a void ability or volatile explosion makes them volatile. Further damage to a volatile target causes them to explode. So your abilities are getting, like your shield bash and your grenade and stuff, are getting like super good ad clear thanks to controlled demolition. So this is like the ultimate ad clear build. It's so much fun. Like I said, this is another build I'm probably going to go back to, just like the Gerfalcons. I love this build, and I do want to make a build video on it very soon. So subscribe for that so you don't miss it. And for my final build, we have the Void Warlock. I went with Nezarec Sin. Obviously, Controverse Hold is like one of my favorite builds in the game. Briarbinds is super good for a game mode like Onslaught. But again, I wanted to do something you don't see much of and try to get the most out of it. And I haven't ran Nezarec Sin in a long time, and I was very impressed. Also, we've got the Super Black Shader on here with some of the old Prestige Leviathan gear, so we get that purple glow. So I just really like the style. Sadly, I can't get the helmet like fully black with the purple on the eye. I tried my best, but yeah, I like how it looks. But anyways, back to the build. If there is Overload Fusion Rifle on for a week, Telesto actually goes really hard. I was impressed with it. And one thing you might not know about it, where does it say it? Multi-kills with this weapon immediately reload your equipped kinetic and energy weapons from reserves. So you can just like lay this down on spawn points and spawn kill a bunch of ads, and then it reloads the magazine. So if you're getting multi-kills with this thing, you can just like keep shooting it. It's very good. And then again, I was saying how much I like scatter grenades because it's really good for getting a quick kill. And then, so we've got Echo of Expulsion, Undermining, of course, Echo of Instability. Defeating targets with grenades grants volatile rounds. So you can get a quick kill with your scatter grenade. With Feed the Void, this is going to activate Devour. We have Child of the Old Gods. So as they're like weakening the enemies, it gives you grenade and melee energy back. So you're getting ability returns from Child of the Old Gods. You're getting grenade returns from Devour, which is super good. And then if we look at Nezarec Sin, void damage kills increase ability energy recharge rate. So, and I think this counts for your super as well. So you're getting like all this recharge rate. I couldn't believe how fast my abilities were coming back with this build. Because yeah, I was basically just using Telesto like a primary, and you're getting so many void kills. So Nezarec Sin was like doing awesome. And then I talked about this in a video shortly after Onslaught came out, but Nova Warp is honestly really good. I don't really like the state that Nova Bombs are in right now. I think they're too weak and they need a buff. And roaming supers are really good in Onslaught, so I was using this. And yeah, I found it to be excellent. I had so much fun with this build. I think I had to run it back twice. I think we might have wiped on one. I can't quite remember. But regardless, this was a super good build. Like, I don't think it was the build's fault. Sometimes you just get unlucky in Onslaught. And then bait and switch chain reaction. So again, void weapon for doing good ad clear. And then bait and switch as well. So you can take down high health targets. And one thing I didn't mention on that Void Hunter build, we got to level 50, but we got locked out. So I have beat it on a Void Hunter. I did like the classic Orpheus rig build and beat it. I just wanted to point that out. Like, I have beat it on every subclass, but that build I showed, we got glitched on the final door, which was really annoying. So I can't show you like the final kill count for that. And I didn't get like every kill count for all these builds. But just trust me when I say we did beat like level 50 with all these builds I showed you. And then we've got like Unstoppable Hand Cannon, no overload with this one, or anti-barrier, but you do have volatile rounds, so you can get it. So yeah, it's not the best for champions, but like with teams of 3 in Onslaught, the champions are so infrequent. This bait and switch edge transit can literally take out a champion before they even put their barrier shield up sometimes. So yeah, that is going to do it for the video. There's so many different things that you can run in Onslaught that would be effective. Like, I'm just going through some of my presets on my Titan right now, and I would say all of these can be effective. But I just wanted to show some off-meta builds that can get the job done even in Legend Onslaught to wave 50. So if you're running these builds in regular, like they'll definitely hold up. And even in Legend, like I said, I pointed out some of the weaknesses of some of the builds that I did beat it on. But for the most part, those can all hang. And if you're playing smartly and you have 2 decent teammates, you can absolutely farm Onslaught with those builds. Like they're very, very good. And I was just having a blast with them. It was so much fun getting to use other stuff. Cause like I said, this artifact it's super strong and it's really good this season, but it's definitely starting to get stale. So it's just been really refreshing being able to use every different subclass and actually have it be viable. So yeah, that's kind of what inspired me to make this video. Like I said, I didn't start out doing this to make a video. I was just having fun with builds. That's why I don't have like all the clears, like the scorecards, because I just wasn't really paying attention to it at first. And then I was like, hey, this might be a cool video idea for people to get some build ideas from. So anyways, I hope you liked it. And if you did, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And thanks for watching and take care.